Must have.
Ooh.
Hey, I think we're live.
Hey, we're
Episode
live.
8.
Episode 8 in the morning time because Beth is on a sailboating adventure.
Yes, I'm currently on San Juan Island. I just pushed Scott off in a dinghy to go get the boat, which has been anchored in a bay outside of the VRBO rental.
Okay.
Yesterday we did a big biking adventure, and we're gonna be going on 2 days of boating adventure,
Nice.
starting right after this cool broadcast.
Yeah. So we went
Like I said, this
ahead.
is this is going ahead and getting a little summer in before buckling down for whatever it is we're buckling down for.
So necessary at this time.
Yeah.
And I'm in Cozy Town per usual. I've got my fancy man cave couch recliner that our good buddy Tom gave me.
Yes.
And we are joined by the very rad and very savage Annie. I am jealous that you both have way cooler last names than me. I mean, Miss Savage, excuse me,
Yes, I know.
and Miss Fortune, that's
I know.
awesome.
I
That's
know.
Dude, I'm stuck with Klingon, like Star Trek or something. That's okay. It's cool. I'm gonna live vicariously through your epic last names. Annie, thank you for being here.
Yes.
We have
So,
never met in person, but you and Beth have. And Beth was like, "Hey,
yeah,
bro,
let me do a little
yeah, do a little intro."
yeah, do a little intro. So, there are very few people that I personally jive with on such a level. They're both sitting right here on this
Oh,
Zoom right now.
oh,
Um, so I was lucky to meet Annie one time at an ASTA conference, 5 or 6 years ago in Salt Lake. And she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I've heard about you. I'm also into bluegrass." And we talked, and I was like, "Cool, see you later." And I don't know where we then started solidifying Annie, but as it turns out, we've both had lots of involvement with the International Bluegrass Music Association Leadership Bluegrass Program. Um, I was I was on the planning committee, at which point I got Annie involved as kind of helping me put together the educational offerings for the Leadership Bluegrass program. And then when I rolled off the committee, I passed the baton to Annie. And you're currently holding down the fort on that right now, right?
I am currently on the
Yeah. And
committee.
speaking of IBMA, Annie is also currently on the slate to receive Mentor of the Year
hey,
from IBMA.
can I
So
vote or something? Is this something
you're
I
not
can
a, are
vote
you a
on?
member?
No,
Only
but
members can vote, bro.
oh, maybe I could become a member. Can
You could
Trombonus
become
be
a
a
member.
member?
Become a member.
I'm down. I love it.
They
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, but let me keep on going.
Okay,
So
go.
Annie is a bluegrass musician, a touring musician, a vocalist, a fiddler, a person who does a lot in our folk tradition world, but also a very trained classical musician, harpist, violinist, and orchestra director. And she is holding down the fort at Liberty High School in Liberty, Iowa. And kind of, I see a lot of parallels
And an
between,
all around savage.
yeah, totally. A lot of parallels between what Annie and I are doing. And she is also closing in on a PhD,
Damn.
doing a lot of research that actually supports many of the topics we talk about here. So it's very pertinent to have Annie as a
Yeah.
guest.
I'm thrilled to be with you guys, and I've enjoyed the other episodes. Kelly, you said something really important a couple episodes ago, which was like basically the equivalent of smell the flowers, drink the coffee, enjoy the downtime. This year is going to be a ride. And
Yeah.
I shifted my mindset at that point from working, to self-care in the non
Really nice.
mission. And I too have been spending a lot of time outdoors and in the water. So the kinds of things that have come up, and you just bought a camper today. Here you're like,
I just bought a camper. I'm so excited. And I'm going to tell you, I look pretty epic driving this thing. Okay. I got a Ford 350 engine and 24 feet of a camper behind me. So let's roll. Maybe I'll drive it to Iowa and we can kick it.
Yeah.
Fun? Oh my gosh.
Stations right now are centering around victimhood and
Right.
like so many legitimate concerns about the upcoming year that I have resorted to reclaiming my wilding, and I'm gonna keep it wild.
Yeah.
You know, my boss at Jazz Ed, Lori DeCook, she has always said and continues to say that at Jazz Ed we do not martyr ourselves for the cause. And that concept and being reminded of that, and I remind myself on a regular basis, and sometimes she has to remind me. But like, that's not what we're gonna do. Well, that helps nobody.
Yeah.
Really helps
So Kelly, I remember one of like the very first things we talked about as a teaching team.
Yeah.
You told me an urban legend about a band director that kind of like it was the last straw, kind of lost it. And that band director was found underneath their desk drinking a bottle of wild turkey.
Like, just right out of the fifth, you know? Not even a flask.
That's an urban legend, you know, that floats around our neck of the woods up in the Seattle area.
But
I don't know if it's true.
I'll imagine getting to that place because I've been pretty close to it on a few occasions.
Yeah. So like in our old life when we were teaching 6 classes a day and like running doing things, festivals,
3 minutes to run all the way down the hall to go to the bathroom and then run back to take attendance and
like all of that stuff.
Evening concerts, parades, football games, you know.
You know, everything we did in our past life as lifetime music teachers, it leads to mental illness.
No doubt. Right.
So as we enter into this new realm, this new way of thinking about things, not martyring ourselves is truly kind of the goal here.
That is a big part of the goal. And then leveraging that in this golden moment of opportunity.
It's a golden moment
that we will never have again.
Right.
There may be future generations of music teachers who have another golden moment, but it's going to be a while. And I don't know when our system got set up so that you have concert band, string orchestra, and choir, and that the canon that is performed is Eurocentric. I don't know when in American history that started in our schools. I suspect it was linked with some very patriotic ideas and parades and all of that stuff. But we've been stuck with that model now for a real long time. And what could happen is that right now we could make a new model so that when we go back into our buildings, we're all doing something new. And that might stick for another 100 years. And I feel a great responsibility to try and propel that change in a positive, different direction that will serve all of our students, not just some of our students. And I want to do better. There's a lot of weight to this time. I don't know, Annie, do you want to speak to that?
Well, I've been all along thinking about this episode in terms of the old movie Doctor Strangelove, because that's just where my brain is right now. So I've secretly titled this episode Doctor Strange Year, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Online Learning, because my radar is has always read into public school secondary orchestra programming that there is no way around the Eurocentric approach. There's no way around the implied misogyny. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it with love, because I grew up in it and it fostered my own musicianship and it made me who I am.
Sure.
But in many ways, which is an actualized woman who can read what is happening in all of its glory. So
yeah.
What I see is that we've known this for a long time, and now suddenly all of the mechanisms that have been holding it in place, even though there was a Beth at ASTA and a Kelly over here and different people kind of whispering, like, doesn't this seem kind of a little bit maybe like white supremacist
in action?
That we've had those conversations in the bathrooms and in the teacher's lounge, and
right.
now becoming part of the central dialogue, because I think we finally have a catalyst moment here where it is a golden opportunity, and maybe what we do doesn't stay with us for 100 years. Maybe what we do is different in every single kid's life, in every single classroom, and maybe we can finally find the rigor in that, find the excellence in that, start to kind of dissect the myth of meritocracy that is like the favorite go-to when people start talking about change. It's like, but what will we have? And the answer is we'll have what we've always had, because it's still going to be with us. We'll still have beautiful moments with Vivaldi and Havanas, but yet we'll also have a lot of other things that really are deeply engaging. And
dude, praise hands to all of that. Okay. For reals.
Yeah.
I am you know, just the concept to me of the fact that the two of you met like in a hallway at ASTA, and that when there were moments where you needed somebody for something, that you connected with each other, is so rad to me, because I don't think that it's how most people do business. I see when people hire clinicians that they're hiring their former band director, or they're hiring the person that they went to college with. There's a real inbreeding that happens in our field. And so we are perpetuating this cycle of who does the work and what kind of work they're doing, because we're not trying to connect with other people. And that's something that Beth taught me really early on, is like, this person in Florida is rad. Let's come up with something. And that was really new way of thinking to me. But it's so important. And also now it's not any harder.
Right.
Having a meeting with someone in Iowa is the same as having a meeting with someone in Seattle, because I'm on my couch on my laptop in my jammies either way.
So,
you know,
taking off on that, Kelly, can we talk? And actually, all three of us do this regularly, and it's very, very different from many other scenarios in the music ed world. And it's what I am calling currently courageous collaboration.
Ooh, I like it.
And the reason I call it that is because In order to do the type of collaboration that we do, you kind of got to go off book.
Right. There's no script for it.
Right. You got to go
That's
off
why it's
book.
fun, and that's also why it's valuable.
Right. So
the script needs to get thrown away.
So I think that there's a very narrow view of what collaboration is in typical public school music ed. And that would be like, oh, let's say like your typical secondary school / high school. Oh, well, we collaborate. We do a winter concert together. or we collaborate. Right. We do Carmina Burana.
Right.
Every once in a while.
Really? Because that would.
We collaborate. We
had a guest conductor.
Right. Right. We collaborate. We have a booster organization that supports all of the performing arts. And I'm just saying, yes, that's collaboration.
Yeah, none of those are bad things, and they're all technically collaboration.
But what ultimately ends up is that in your day-to-day teaching, you end up being an island all by yourself, and it's sink or swim, and you don't have anyone to rely on, and you are like, I better pull the weight or I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna drown. And the difference in the collaboration I've done with you guys is that I can go to you and we can like do it together. We see each other's programs as all of our jobs. We see each other's students as all of our students. We see our program, all of it, even though I'm not the choir teacher or I'm not the band teacher, we see all of it as our duty to make sure things are working out. And
maybe closer to team teaching almost.
Closer to team teaching and team planning and overarching planning that really coincides with all aspects of the program. And one of the things that I want to get through to folks as we enter into this strange time is that you shouldn't have to be all on your own. You are not an island. Find someone to team up with. Find someone to team up with and
multiple together even. Yeah.
Like, I personally want Annie and I to plan like
a unit or something.
A unit or more, like weekly classes that we team teach with her students in Iowa and my students in Seattle, and we work together teaching it. The students work together from different places, and we're all kind of like learning together.
It's like modern music pen pals or something.
Yeah, and to me that sounds exciting and like really fun, as opposed to kind of the fear that that is also present about, I'm an island, I'm all by myself in this, I don't know what to do, I'm gonna get lost, I'm gonna get buried or whatever, or I don't know. But all I'm saying is
activated to me, like really, like, you know, like it's all gonna be booping and fun, almost like a classroom. If you start putting different groups of kids who don't know each other together, that sounds fun.
It sounds interesting. Like, I think
I think I've been a lot of thinking about change and like how hard it is to change as a person. I mean, like, I will be like, I am not eating sugar ever again, and I will be like grabbing M&Ms out of my cart.
Like, because they're bomb.
I tried to think about my classroom and the momentum that travels in this there's a very swift current that pulls people in a direction that serves the status quo. And I have been a teacher who was out on the road touring in bands, a lot of time in the studio, writing books about improvisation, and come in, and here I am standing at my conductor stand, and it's Monday morning, and I'm like, people, listen. And it's like, wow, if that happens to me in that moment, then it's going to take a lot of reprogramming in order for that to happen. And I want to take a minute to tack back to Beth and I met at ASTA. I just remembered this. I was like a young, like teenage dirtbag baby musician.
So is Beth. It's okay.
That's how I got literally. Barefoot.
To present at ASTA with the Savage Fiddler method, and I like got this letter, and it was like, oh, I've been accepted. That is terrifying. I did this thing on Friday afternoon, and it was like 4:30 on Friday, the last day of
That's the worst time slot, bro.
Yeah. Everyone's at happy hour.
They're on their way to happy. The eclectic stringers have left the building.
Yeah.
I ended up with like 43 people that showed up panel out of nowhere, and there was this really beautiful moment where it was like, you know, these people want to do the right thing. People
want to do the right thing.
Just did not learn it in music school.
Right.
And then we have to remember, like, the fear is every day. We go in there, the fear is there, and it will steer us back to the current. The fear will just constantly push us back. So these regular check-ins and like accountability partners, I think about it like a 12-step program for like not teaching what you've been handed.
Yes.
Yeah. Constantly being like, no, this is not happening to me. I am happening to it. This is not something that I have the patience or the inability to do on my own. But man, it's like, so we forget like over and over. And I just had that moment. I went up to Minneapolis to the George Floyd Memorial, and I like the most moving piece of that for me. And what you see is like 4 blocks of flowers, 4 blocks of people who are there. They are silent, and the thing that the takeaway for me was like, we know this happens. We've said this before, and we forget over and over and over. And that's the same thing I do when I'm faced with the fear in my classroom. I forget, and I go in there and I act like I don't know who I am. And it's like, we need to. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That is incredibly insightful and important to remember. And P.S. like 40 people on a Friday afternoon. That's dope. Beth and I will be like, before we present, we'll be like, if there's at least 10 people here, I won't feel like a loser. You know?
It was a body of people that like I'm still in touch with them, and like, she could have been a CEO, man. Beth, I'm just glad that the corporate world never found you, because your approach is like very impactful, and you know how to connect the dots. Like you're constant, and one thing I love about Beth as well is that it'll be like, you know, I want to do live we'll be talking about the Mox program that we work together on at Wintergrass. And it's like, I want to present live at the Roseland Ballroom by Portishead. Like some craziness. And Beth is like, let's
do it. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Very courageous in asking for the big ask. And we have to remember that as teachers, like, don't be afraid of the big ask, man. Go right to the thing, because
right to the thing.
We've got like a lot of competition, and if we're going to present eclectic styles and multi-styles in a way that's meaningful, man, we're going to have to blow some minds doing it. That's just, it's like, go big or go home, I think.
Absolutely. You know, something that gets me really spinning is, well, actually, you said a couple things that really made my brain ping. One of them is how deeply true that we slip into what is easy, and what's easy is what we grew up with, you know? Like, that's how I was raised. That's what I believe. It's so closed, but it feels safe. And I don't teach concert band anymore. I haven't taught concert band in 5 years, and yet I know that I'm stressed out because I will have a dream that it's the first day of concert band and that I've got 100 kids with noisemakers and that they decide that I'm jive and basically mutiny. And that's how I know that I'm stressed out, is that I have that dream.
Have that
And
dream.
that dream is, I think, what that concept that you've got 100 kids with noisemakers who are middle schoolers who could revolt at any moment if they decide that you're bunk. And so I guess I better put on the show,
Yep.
because that's what they believe I'm supposed to do, and that'll keep everything in order.
I think
And I wonder how much of that is like the idea of wanting to keep order, uh, and the fear of what happens if we don't.
Well, you know what? I'm going to dip in and go ahead and say that when I left Washington Middle School, which was 2 school years ago, I entered into teaching at a high school, Ballard High School, which runs a very, very traditional, as far as like textbook traditional goes, band, orchestra, and choir program. And so I entered into a program that was extremely, extremely traditional.
Rigid.
After, yes, very rigid. After having taken almost 2 decades to mold the Washington Middle School program into something that reflects my personality 100% and Kelly's personality. So when I entered into the world of Ballard High School, I immediately felt like, I don't know, a fish out of water. I immediately felt that mutiny of, if the kids think you're bunk, they're gonna revolt. I immediately.
And we all know that they will.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen it. I know. I immediately felt like under the gun to like be this fancy conductor and, you know, do this like highfalutin orchestra rep and enter the kids into contests so that they win. I immediately felt pushback on any type of different approach to the traditional textbook ways. And I am here to tell you that that is not me. It has taken me this entire time of quarantine to come to terms with the fact that for the last 2 years I have been acting out of character.
You've been playing the game.
I have been trying to go by the book, and there have been quite a few successes, lots of elements of success, but it still is not me. It's not me. And I am the first to tell you, like, things need to change. Things need to change, which is why this PD for me is really important. I'm the first one on the list as far as your program is this, your program is that, your program is that, let's change it. You know, I'm the first one on that list of PD. Like, I am going to be at the discussion later.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, I need to move that program to be more reflective of me. I need the courage to do that. I would love to have colleague support. I would love to have, I don't know, but I think that this moment in time is a gift, because I was definitely deteriorating as far as
it was trauma for reals.
Yeah, I was deteriorating from a mental health standpoint, and now I'm feeling a lot more sane. Like, my body systems are working a lot better right now.
Right. You're well slept.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I swear, you guys, I was a nervous damn wreck.
I know
I
you
would
are.
sit there for hours just like with shaking hands trying to write lesson plans and like,
Yeah.
find these like super advanced warm-ups and stuff like that to be impressive to
Right.
people who are motivated by stature and motivated by seat and motivated by advanced. Like anything advanced is what the motivation is. And
Yeah.
I just got to go away from that. And
Well, I'm gonna, Beth, say that yes, you have to go away from that.
yeah,
But partly because it's who you are.
right.
But I'm like pretty fascinated by this idea that like there, for example, when I have girls jazz day, one day a year, and when we have girls jazz day, that there are still mothers of white boys, always mothers of white boys, who call the office to ask, when is boys jazz day? There are professors in music ed departments at state colleges who send emails, when is boys jazz day? And we used to have a conversation, kind of every day is boys jazz day. And we're not even saying that your boy can't attend. What we're saying is this is a one day a year focused on women in jazz. They're welcome to attend. They would be enhanced by it. And we've moved, I've moved from that to now taking the emails from the professors and forwarding them to their bosses. Like I've moved to that place.
Yeah.
But the question still remains, why is it okay to have girls jazz day and not boys jazz day? And I think that that's very obvious to people in my circle, but I think there are a lot of people out there who have that question. And I think that it can move into what you just said, which is like you and Annie and we all have a natural inclination to push against systems because they don't feel right to us.
Yeah.
And maybe because we're women.
Absolutely. That's absolutely, can't lose that moment. It's misogynist.
Yeah.
Misogynist system. And
maybe the people who don't feel that it's necessary to push against it or feel comfortable in the system, maybe that's because the system was built for them. And so maybe it's not that there's something wrong with you, Beth, and needing to change it to be like you. Maybe it's that the system needs to change, and the people who don't think it needs to change, the only people I know that don't think it needs to change are white men who work in schools that really function well with that kind of system, right? Not white men who work in Title I schools, let's say.
Right.
But white men who work at affluent schools. Can we riff on that for a minute? I would love to hear what Annie has to say.
Well, it's the myth of meritocracy that comes up over and over, and I have a crisis of my identity on a regular basis, and it's something that I've learned to kind of be with. It's the tiger that walks alongside me every day in my life, and so it's a powerful thing. And I've had that experience as well, where I went back into teaching high school thinking, wow, I'm a pretty advancing musician myself, and high school would be a great fit because of my musicianship. And then immediately I'm interfacing with the fear of high school students, right? Yep. My reality starts to become their reality and vice versa. So school was a really terrifying time. If I think back to who I was scared all the time. Now, did I appreciate the teacher that handed me "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings" off the library shelf and said, "Take it and walk out of here"? You bet I did. He changed my life, you know, and he was a white male, God bless him. So there's good guys, but the system overall is designed to do what you're talking about. It's designed to make you feel that way. And this is that really, this is again, kind of Kelly, what you said, the golden moment, which is that our students are going to interface with us here in my school, at least sometimes in the classroom. But for the most part, I'm interacting with them online, and suddenly there's nobody sitting next to them hitting them with their bow. You know, there's nobody making fun of the fact that they wore the same thing 2 days in a row.
Right.
There's nobody saying you're, you know, you're this and you're that, because our kids deal with so much fear that of course we pick up on that. I know a couple years ago, I want to share a story about the myth of meritocracy in my very first life. I was on tour with an international touring bluegrass band for the first time in my life, and I was sitting in jam circles with Daryl Anger, and you know,
me some Daryl. What a sweet man! Oh my God.
But I was sitting there, and I was listening to people take solos, and I had just thankfully crossed this point in my life where my like feminine charm had run out. I didn't realize I was privileged as a woman until it ran out. Now I want to talk about patriarchy and happened to me, and I was like, this isn't working as well as it used to, and I didn't even realize I had leaned on it, but I was, you know, crossing over 40 or whatever. So I'm sitting there and I just couldn't play. I could not, all I could do is listen to what other people were doing. And I thought, I am a real simpleton, man. I am totally, I'm a flim flammer. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have anything to offer. And so I'll go home and become an author. Well, I started writing down, notating all of the solos that I took on specific songs and writing, and I notated them and wrote a book called The Savage Fiddler Method. And when I started writing down what I play, I realized that improvisation is very sophisticated, and when you notate it, it's a freaking mess. So the
mess,
and it's a freaking mess is not making that more sophisticated by any means. It's just that when humans create something beautiful, it can look really complicated on paper. So I'm not paper anymore. And then I realized, like, everything I know, I don't give myself any credit for. So I look at somebody else. We're taught to compete in music school. We come from this, like, art school breaks us. In many ways, it's like many pieces on the ground, and we have to put those back together as people and as adults, because I was broken by that whole thing. And it's just amazing to me that the myth of meritocracy is used over and over, and it's racist and it's sexist. And I've stopped. I don't even debate that anymore. It's like, okay,
not up for debate.
You don't see that? Cool. I can walk out of here and go on with my life. I don't need you to see it.
Right. I mean, I hope that you will, because you're poor students, but
we don't need to establish the ground rules anymore. It's a very Eurocentric system, and the myth of meritocracy it's just that. It's a jabberwocky. I mean, we do cool things in groups with notation, no doubt. I would be
no doubt.
Say, like, we're not talking about substitution, we're talking about augmentation. And I just
I wonder how I suspect that there are a lot of music teachers out there who are willing to finally accept that our programs are racist and sexist and classist, and want to do better, and but don't know how, and are looking for one person that they can follow and do what they do, like an answer, you know, like we're all gonna do this. And I feel that need too, like, well, who's the person that I can watch and and copy? And there are a lot of people doing this work, and there is a lot of beauty in taking your own skill set and your own passions and putting them into your classroom. And how do we sort of bring those two ideas along? Because I don't think I'm gonna you two might disagree, but I don't think that the answer is buying a fleet of flying V fiddles and doing the Mark Wood method. I don't think that that is the answer.
I don't think
And
so
I
either.
think that why that's such a popular idea in the alt strings community is because it's one person who has an what seems like an answer. And I wonder if we could, not that playing like Zeppelin on a fiddle isn't awesome, because it is, but
It is.
but it's hella expensive. I mean, that's a classist solution. Who's got that kind of fundage to buy fleets of instruments and method books, you know? Like, there's gotta be a way.
Well, you know, I think
Have.
we can pair a couple of our ideas today. Um, Courageous collaboration is kind of the key. And it's also, I kind of think it's also the key to culturally responsive classrooms. Um, if we are courageous enough to collaborate with members of our community, and that could be someone who is local, that could be someone who is not. It could be someone from another state, another country, whatever. But think about, especially now, think about the world as our community. If we are willing to put our own skills and lack thereof on the side and jump in as learners with members of our community who are actual experts in certain things, and then, you know, position yourself with your students as learners, as a learner, and you are helping to you're running artist interface with whoever is helping out with this concept, and you are getting the message across, and you're bringing new perspectives into your classroom, and you are showing your students and their families that you don't have all the answers as the teacher.
And there's other stuff out there.
There's other stuff out there, and it's cool, and we all get to learn, and that's cool, and that's fun.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a former parent, a former Washington parent who runs a professional consulting business, and she has offered to give me some of her sessions to help me kind of direct my leadership, which is
Cool.
a real gift, man.
That's
A real
cool.
gift. And I was in a preliminary email. I was explaining that one of my worst fears is starting something and being a failure at it. But on the flip side of the coin, when I enter into some kind of challenge with other people that I like to work with, like you two, the fear of failure is gone, and it becomes fun.
Yes, that is
Failure seems to be built in,
yeah.
kind of, and we expect that it's going to happen, and we know that we can go back to each other and be like, okay, we beefed it. How do we what's our next strategy? And that becomes more like a game to me,
Right.
as opposed to me standing there all alone on the podium like, okay, here we go.
Right.
Or sitting there trying to write lesson plans that my advanced students are gonna appreciate. You know what I mean? I believe that if we are allowing ourselves to collaborate with others put ourselves not in the driver's seat, but in the position of a learner, and
Yeah.
learn from people in our community, that's going to be the answer.
I love that. I want to tack back to the Vipers for a second too, because I
Strap-ons.
want to get in the Vipers. I love that. I do love that approach. I've been in some of those clinics, and I do love the kind of. I just remember playing Viva La Vida in a middle school where we were working with Mark, and it was like, this is so badass, man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Totally.
um,
It's fun.
but I do really wonder why, even in the eclectic styles movement, where I mean, we've got Martha Mook and we've got Judy Lyon Lieberman, and there are so many women coming out of Berklee School of Music right now that you can't even begin to think that we're going to be in the same boat, 20 years from now. There are just some killer female musicians. Rihanna Giddens this past season.
Renata Bratt.
Yeah.
I love her. Yay. Shout out to her. Shout out to Laura Cortese and the Dance Cards. Killer. Very unapologetic, strident, beautiful women that have a vision. And as much as we can support that, it blows my mind when I look at the lineup and the keynote speakers that are invited. And it's like, again, we are doing this. How is this happening? And so I think we work together, but we also, like, I remember years ago, speaking of guys that do cool stuff, Randy Sabian.
Oh, Randy. I love Randy.
I was just, one of his tunes came on my mix today, his piece Sunday Song. I was like, oh my God, I just love this. I just love this. And we need to get Randy back into the mix.
He's great with kids too. Yeah.
I think in northern Minnesota on a lake, so he might already be in this place that we're all moving to. But discovered something beyond the classroom. But I brought him out when I was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, to do jazz clinic, and there's a lot more authenticity that needs to happen in terms of bringing Black clinicians into jazz conference. 100%. But
in strings, especially
in strings,
obviously,
although again, there's a lot of gender marginalization. I should have been a jazz major, and nobody let me know that. So moving forward, I said, Randy, I'm very motivated. I'm willing to work hard. I understand that this is a thing where I'm going to have to practice every day. I mean, to me, it's like, if I don't practice every day, something's going wrong, because it's about I have to practice every day. And I said, I'm going to move, to a bigger city. I want to do this for real. Where is it happening right now? Like, where is it at right now? And Randy says, Annie, you're where it's at. But like, that comes with it, like, a lot of unpleasant reality. Like,
Randy.
Yeah.
We do like practice, that we can't just say somebody else is going to take care of this.
But it's also so beautiful. Like, you're happening, man.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he meant or not.
I think that's what he meant.
No.
I am 100% sure that's what he meant. You are happening.
I know that I have like two choices when I wake up in the morning, and one is to like feel the weight of the world, and the other is to like fight back like an MRFer.
Yeah, man, I try and I think I've got one on each shoulder,
Oh.
Well, that's really awesome. I was thinking about the first time that I knew of Annie, because Beth, we try and connect each other with other awesome people.
Yeah.
And Beth was like, you got to check out my friend Annie. And she might have just told me your name, and I might have just friend requested you on Facebook, maybe. I think is probably what happened. And then maybe the next day or something, you posted, Annie, a Facebook video of your students playing the open string cycle, which I'm extremely familiar with, because when Beth and I would put our band and orchestra kids together, we taught the band the notes of the open string cycle, and they would play long tones along with. So it was like the strings were doing their typical warm up, but the band kids were playing it along with them, so we could all warm up together. Yeah. And anyway, the video was your students playing the open string cycle over some like street beats that you had made or something.
I have a student.
It was the warm-up packet, dude. The warm-up packet.
I was like, dude, that is so smart. Like, why is not everyone, and how did I not think of this? Why isn't everyone putting their warm-up to something cooler? It was like, man, it's so obvious now that I see it. Yeah. And it's like genius, right? When you see something that you can't believe you haven't been doing your whole life. And I thought, damn, that's really cool. And I really like her. And I'm going to find a way to work with her. And now, because of online teaching, why wouldn't every string teacher email Annie and pay her for that, and if they're in a position to do so. And then that got me thinking about, I bet there are men who are paid for much less, and I bet, and I know that like this work that Beth and I are doing is completely unpaid. Like, we've gotten zero donations, bro. Zero. The podcast has made 61 cents, right? Like, I mean, obviously this is a passion project, but I think that there are probably men doing something similar right now and making money off of it. And that's straight up sexist, right? Because women's work is unpaid work traditionally, right? Like, you take care of the kids, you cook dinner, and this is in addition to your full-time job, and it's unpaid and acknowledged. And I want to riff on that for a minute. Like, first of all, pay women for their work, which is awesome. You should pay Annie for that open string cycle stuff. And P.S., let's stop expecting women to do free work for everybody. You need to pay people if you're in a position to. And if you're not in a position to, ask nicely, because I know that I will do it for free if it's someone whose heart is in the right place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm in the traditional music business. There was always this myth that at some point you're going to be doing your thing and somebody's going to walk in and the right person is going to see you at the right time. And then they're going to make your career. They're going to give you your break. And I guess I was super naive because the way that I feel that came, I don't think I've ever told you this, Beth, but the way that happened in my life was meeting Beth Fortune. I mean, and I'm not saying that as a weird stalker friend. I'm saying that as like, well, okay, I am. No. My motivation is in helping rebrand secondary orchestra.
Yes.
I went the distance. I grew up improvising and playing folk music, and then went through Interlochen Arts Academy and Oberlin Conservatory, and I was treated like none of that mattered. I was already where it was at, and nobody ever acknowledged that. And as I was graduating, I asked the dean of my school, I said, what do I do tomorrow? Like, I practiced 10 hours a day, and I like mastered the Mozart concerto for flute and harp. Like, what do I do tomorrow? And he's like, you need to get a gig. And I was like, what? Like, it was like, what are you talking about? So, when we get into I think we need to be more business minded as educators.
Yeah.
we on one hand, we need to understand what marketing is. We need to market new things to our students. We need to start out, if we're going to compete against Allstate, we need a festival that is like Allstate, so that our kids will be motivated to play all the way through. So always start with the end in mind. And then I was very fortunate because I work a lot with Wintergrass, and at Wintergrass, everybody volunteers. Huge numbers of incredible educators, many of them female. A lot of the people on the board, a lot of the folks in leadership positions are female, and I said I want to be a part of this. How do I do this? And I wrote a grant to the Iowa Arts Council to do. I want to do an online method, an online curriculum that can be used by secondary orchestra directors that will encourage kids of color to be in orchestra by giving them a culturally responsive group of material. And I was pleasantly surprised that we were able to get that grant. So
Cool.
if you're not set on getting paid by a certain avenue or in a certain way,
Right.
there's money out there. You just have to really, it's like being an airbender. It's like, what are the things that are happening right now in the world, and how do we use them to create change? And so
Yeah.
if this is a good time, I would say folks can find me at savagefiddler.com.
It's a great time, and everyone needs to do that.
I don't, like a friend of mine that I was really trying to get to do some work for me. I was like, I can pay you. And he was like, you know what? I don't need money. And that's where I'm at in my life right now. It's like, I don't need the money. What I need is the opportunity to change how secondary orchestras.
Yeah. People need to jump on board. That's what we need.
But I will also say that not taking money from people who have it to give is an example of martyring oneself for the cause.
It might be.
So, and what I mean by people who have it to give is, do you have a booster group at your school? If the answer is yes, you have the money to give. Spend it on the Savage method. Don't spend it on another lame score at J.W. Pepper. You're spending money. You need to spend it on different things.
Yeah.
And when you get that material or the opportunity to work with Annie or whomever you choose to hire, be the person that starts the Zoom.
Yes.
Be the person that manages chat.
Yes.
But then also be the person who is learning along with your students.
Yes.
They love that.
Position yourself in that way.
And grab your horn.
Yep.
Grab
Make
your
it
fiddle.
known. Make it known. And I would take it even a step further, and this is another way to enrich your classroom environment to be more culturally responsive. Open it up to parent participation. Here we are in this moment where kids are going to school at home for the most part.
Right.
Who's also around? Parents.
Yeah.
Tell them to grab their axe.
That's fun. That's totally fun.
Why don't we have like a 3 chords in the truth workshop to teach people who don't know how to play the G, D, and whatever chords on a guitar, teach them how to do that.
Let's go grab a uke, like $20 investment, bro.
Evening. And this is a family workshop that we're going to have. And that's going to help anybody be able to like jump in when we're working with Annie or when we're working with Chris Mena or when we're working with, Randy.
Ben and Joe, who will be our guests next week.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's like, make it a family affair. Hey, maybe there's a parent. I'm thinking of Pappy. Annie, you got to talk about Pappy in a sec. Maybe,
except for P.S., we have like 1 minute left.
Okay,
so.
This is a great way to cap it off.
That'll be our little sign-up story.
Maybe there's a parent that can jump in with their skills. Maybe there's a family who has like a tradition of music that they have in their lives and they can share. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like Beth and I taught Wayne Horvitz's son, Lowell, who is a bass player. So he was in the orchestra and he was also in the jazz band with me.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, that's incredibly intimidating because
Right.
both of Lowell's parents are amazing musicians and composers. Dad, Wayne Horvitz, it's a little more famous, but Robin Holcomb is like a friggin' genius. And these were his parents. And that is intimidating. But also, if you're like, wow, this is also really awesome, then you can go ahead and commission both parents to write a piece and work with your students, which is what we did. So, you know,
Washington Hall.
Yeah, you got to make a choice. I want to know about a Pappy.
Yes.
Yeah, Pappy's like at the highest level of academia. Pappy's doing cool stuff with kids, and he's we call him our resident pirate. Whenever and they're like, we're not worthy. But Pappy's like a local musician who I have grown up with around the campfire, and I was looking for somebody to lead my fiddle group, and I just said, you know, Pappy, I want you to come in because what he's able to do, I am constant in my teaching. Oftentimes I find myself, even in improvisation, telling kids what the right answer is.
Yeah.
Instead of allowing them to come to it with their own belief system. And music is just like, it's not hard. When it's bad, and when it's good, you know, it's just, but Pappy's approach is to just come in and run chords with kids and let them take as many breaks as they possibly can, and to never utter a single negative word. And in most of our myth of meritocracy paradigms, that is unthinkable, because there's no way that they know the right answer. And really, that not believing that kids know the right answer is true fear, right? That's and Pappy's method is the fearless one. And I love, Beth, we were coming through the line at Wintergrass, and the lady said, I'm going to have to hear, who's the lead singer of, Freddie Mercury. I'm going to put the Freddie Mercury on Dr. Strange Year, or How I Stop Worrying and Love on. The lady said, do you want chicken or pork, Pappy? And Pappy looked at her and he said, in the famed words of Freddie Mercury, I want it all, and I want it now.
Oh my gosh.
Pappy
is like, it's an incredible reminder. And in a couple of weeks, I have a special guest plan that Beth does not know about yet.
Oh, boy.
But what it reminds me of is, number one, none of us can be everything to our students.
Yeah.
None of us. So you have to have other people working with your kids. You've got to.
You have to open up the community.
Have to. And what starts to happen is your kids start to realize that there are other ways of doing things. And they are often more brave and more willing to take a chance with a stranger, which feels really counterintuitive to me. But they want to please you as their teacher. And so when we're doing things like improvisation, I think it's often more successful when they're doing it with someone that isn't you. But we'll get to that topic on a totally different episode in 2 weeks. What we're going to do now, I'm extremely stoked about. Today is the first day of clock hours, and Annie taught me today that not all teachers know what clock hours are, because I think they're maybe called different things in other states, and I had absolutely no idea of that. But professional development, where you get credit for it, and in Washington State, when you have a certain number of clock hours, you move over a lane and get paid more. And so there's a minimum requirement, like you have to have a certain number of clock hours every year just to keep your certificate active. But then when you get to a certain number of them, you get paid more. So even college students who are like music ed students can start collecting their clock hours to use when they become certificated and want to get paid more for their time and investment in their craft through professional development. So today is the first day of that. And so viewers can now, what we're going to do is we're going to go off of Facebook Live, and people who want to participate for clock hours or just for funsies will join our Zoom call, but it won't be live. And we'll spend the next half an hour answering their questions, having a conversation with those people. And so if you want to be one of those people, why don't you just message me on Facebook right now, or email me, Kelly, Kelly, at seattlejazzed.org, or kelly.klingan, Klingan, at yahoo.com, and I will send you the Zoom link, and you can dial in like right now and have a convo, interaction. And if you want clock hours for that, you'll get an hour and a half for today, an hour watching this show and 30 minutes for the conversation. Yay! So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone who's watching on Facebook Live, and we're all going to stay here. I'm going to try this for the first time. Stop live stream. It should work. Stop